Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Leadership Conversation Podcast. I am your host, Derek, and today I have a very special guest on. Command Sergeant Major retired Griffin, but he would definitely love me to call him Griff because he said that he's not a Sergeant Major no more. I feel differently because I say once a Sergeant Major, always a Sergeant Major. So why don't you take some time to introduce yourself to these people?
Hey, Derek, man, thank you, man. Hey, look, I am Derek Griffin. I prefer to be called Griff. Like you just said, man, the that sergeant major was a title. That was a position that I held, but and I don't downplay it at all, but I appreciate the fact that I had it. But hey, I'm in a new chapter of my life. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, born and raised, but I currently reside here in Katy, Texas. Me and my wife, we just celebrated our 14th wedding anniversary, and we have three adult human beings, all out there doing their own thing. I currently am the marketing director for the former SMA Tilly, for his American Freedom Foundation and his Next Mission podcast. And basically, I monitor his social media sites and just get the word out about what we do to help veterans and their family members as they transition out the military.
Oh, nice, nice. So a lot of people don't know, but I was well, a lot of people don't know just watching the podcast, but I was actually stationed at Fort Knox with you the same time that you were there. And I remember seeing you a couple of times, and we had a brief conversation. And I remember some things about you, but the first thing that stuck out was that you were a 63 or what was a 63 Bravo, but switched to a 91 Zulu. So I thought that was really dope. It's and for me being AGR and you being active duty on the AGR side, there's not that many 91s that are Sergeant Major. I think there's only six positions.
Yeah.
And and anybody that I talk to, I always tell them that Fort Knox was probably one of the best assignments I ever had. So can you tell me something that stuck out to you about that time on Fort Knox?
Derek, I went there kicking and screaming, man. I didn't want to go. You just said I'm an ordinary soldier, and they sent me to a place that was known for the home of, for those field artillery guys or those guys that like to blow stuff up. And it turned
Uh,
out to be one of the best duty assignments that I ever had. And I'm not exaggerating in my 30 years because I got an opportunity to serve the community. I got an opportunity to meet people that I probably would have never met. Uh, I understand, but I got a deep rooted respect for the AGR. I don't think I shared this with you, but I used to be on the reserve component evaluation team. So I used to go out to all the RTSMs and get them their accreditations to teach under the one army school system. So I'm very familiar for what y'all did there, as far as teaching or whatever, man. But Fort Knox was awesome, man. It was different, and I'm gonna cut it off right here. It was different because as a sustainer, I've been working on equipment or maintaining equipment basically my whole military career. And then when I get to Fort Knox, I become a city manager.
yeah.
It had nothing to do with working on equipment no more. It was about, law enforcement, child care facilities, FMWR programs, that type of stuff, man. And so I truly enjoyed it. And it was the best, probably the best 3 years of my military career.
Yeah, like I said, I tell people that too. One thing I liked about Fort Knox is first of all, I'm just like you. I was a rich turner, and me and my wife talk all the time. She'll tell everybody, "Man, Derek can fix anything," which I think she exaggerated a little bit, but I am curious enough to know how things work. You know, I know you can save a bunch of money by doing that,
Mhm.
but prior to me getting at Fort Knox, I got selected to be an instructor there, and it was challenging for me because I wasn't used to being up in front of people talking and giving them information. But what I found that I like is not necessarily the I like the duty station. It's like a hidden gem that people don't know. But what
Yeah.
I found that I loved about the job or about the position was the fact that I could give students something that they didn't have. You know what I mean? And I love the fact that it put me in contact and it let me touch so many soldiers inside the Army and the Army Reserve. And that's one thing I really appreciated about it.
So like what we was talking about right before we came on the screen, man, it's about giving back. And
Oh
I
yeah.
love of all the jobs that I had. I mean, being a Garrison Sergeant Major was awesome, but I was also a former first sergeant at the Infield Academy. I was a former instructor and I was a former drill sergeant. And what that did was it gives you the opportunity to put a little bit of you out there in the world. And so
Oh
as
yeah.
you instructing, you got an opportunity to put a little bit of you out there. And a lot of people don't understand that, man. It's not about what you know, but it's what you can give. And I tell you,
Oh yeah.
being an instructor is awesome.
hmm Just like I tell you, me and my homeboy Eric, he's a CW2 now. We used to say that what you have inside your brain is useless unless you give it to somebody in a manner that they can understand. And I think that if people take that with them throughout their entire life, I think that the whole world will be a lot better.
You know, a lot of people always say knowledge is power, but that's not the case. Knowledge is power when it's applied, when it's utilized, when it's put to work.
Oh yeah,
It's hey, they say the richest place in the world is a cemetery, man. Because
oh yeah,
think about how many books that weren't written, how many inventions that weren't created, how many sons weren't sung, because people took that stuff with them. And so I
hmm
always encourage, man, if you can give back, always give back, man. So
oh yeah,
that's
oh yeah, for
awesome.
sure, for sure. Well, let me ask you this. I know that you say you grew up in Alabama. I think that's another thing that we have in common, that we're both from the South. And until we talked a couple of days ago, I didn't know that you were in Katy, Texas, which is where I plan on moving to in a couple of months. So we definitely got to get together and hang out or watch a football game, something like that. But I know you grew up in Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama. Uh, you raised in a single parent home. Can you tell me what kind of lessons your upbringing instilled in you in order for you to become the song major and the person that you are today?
You know what? Growing up in a single parent home, not having all the what we call amenities now that most people consider to be amenities, I would tell you, man, I didn't know I was really in a single parent home until I really got out there because I grew up in the projects. Everybody was at the single parent home
Oh yeah, that's
where I
true.
grew up at. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that my mom's my mom's ability to impress or impart on me and my brother that just because of we live in the project is not us, and that
hmm
she always was on me about starting and completing completing whatever I started, and so my upbringing made my navigation through the military pretty easy. I'm just gonna keep it
Yeah,
real.
yeah.
I remember when I went to basic training, man, and all the guys and stuff was in there crying and stuff like that. I'm like, man, this is a joke, man. This is this is funny to me because my mom could use way more four-letter words than the drill sergeant could ever use, but she
Hey,
did it with love.
and
What's
those
that,
and
man?
and I say those are facts. I know my mom was she wasn't as real sorry. My mom was in the Navy, and then she was a prison guard, and she worked as a police officer at the police department in Jackson,
Yeah,
Mississippi. And she had this way of disciplining us and raising us up
yeah,
so rough
yeah,
that when I got to the military, a lot of stuff just didn't bother me. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
And what she, kind of like what she did for you, she instilled enough that you just got to work hard. And she
yeah,
always said that if you work hard, you'll be rewarded for it.
yeah,
It may not necessarily be with money, but it
yeah.
may be with like the pride of actually having something that you completed on time. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
yeah. See, with my mom, like we couldn't use the phrase "I can't" in her house. That was
hmm
considered to be. Matter of fact, we probably could have cussed before we could say "I can't" in my mom's house because she would always say, "You can do anything you put your mind to." She said it was a time that you couldn't tie your shoes, and now you're a professional shoe tie. It just
hmm
requires that you got to put a little bit more work in it. And then I will say this, and then I turn it back over to the other thing that I guess helped me throughout my military career is the history of Birmingham. Birmingham got a especially when you start talking about the civil rights movement and all this other stuff and segregation, it had a strong history. And I just
hmm
wanted to be a representative, a positive representative from that city compared to what a lot of the stuff that took place in that city. And I guess that was another, I came up during a time where my mom was one of five Black kids when they integrated the schools at her school. And
Oh,
so
nice.
she was always on us about that. And then all the teachers that I had or whatever, they was very on us about having to work hard. And so in my military career, man, I remember when I first came in the military, I was really considered to be an overachiever. That's what a whole bunch of them was telling me. It wasn't the fact that I was an overachiever. I just didn't like people to tell me what to do. And so
Yeah.
I was the quick the one to raise my hand because I'd rather do it. In my mind, I'd be like, I'm the one that told me to do it. It wasn't the drill
Yeah.
sergeant told me to do it. It wasn't first sergeant. It wasn't the platoon sergeant. And so it made it easier for me. And it actually
Yeah.
helped me be successful in the military.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. I know when you talk about being where you from, one thing that I really like is that, when you accomplish things and you from the parts of the South that we from, everybody proud of you, right? You can see somebody on TV, you'll be like, oh, that boy from Mississippi. Oh, that guy from Louisiana. Like, oh, I used to hang out with his cousin down the street. They're just like super proud of you. And not and I just like the fact that people are, you know, like me and my wife talk about this all the time because she's from the island, but she was raised in the city.
Okay.
And I told her, I said, look, baby, I'm a country boy. I said, we got the mud where I'm from. I said, we didn't have things. I said, so therefore, how I was raised and how I look at stuff is a lot more different than you, which, give us our differences. But I tell you, just like you, I really appreciate the way my mom raised us and what she did for us. One of the most, I want to say, one of the best memories that I have of growing up is she used to have this plaque on the wall. And the plaque said, we do so much with so little, we could do almost anything with nothing at all. Right. And what it did was it set the tone for me and my brothers to just go out there and get it.
Yeah.
Like, you can't complain about what you don't got. If you don't got, then go get it.
Yeah.
That's just the end of the story.
Yeah. All the time, people give a lot of energy to stuff that they don't have control over. So you just got to focus on the controllables. And I need to go find that plaque or poster, whatever that was your mom had, because I like that. I have a whole bunch of sayings. Like, I got a gym in my garage, so, and I put all these different sayings, and I like stuff like that. So I'm about to get with you afterwards to get that quote so I can find it.
Yeah, she still got it. I'm looking behind you to your right, my left. I'm looking at a drill sergeant belt. This will defend. Is that what it says back there?
So that right there is the buckle. Now they wear it now, but that buckle, I was one of the last drill sergeant leaders. Not only was I a drill sergeant, but I was a drill sergeant leader at the drill sergeant school. And I always tell people, I actually love being a drill sergeant leader more than I love being a drill sergeant. And they like, why? Because, in basic training, you get 60 soldiers and you love it. And it's awesome. At the drill sergeant school, you get 17 NCOs in your squad. Mm-hmm. But just think about how many, if you do it right with them 17, how many people they come in contact with. And so, I was a drill sergeant, man. I was a drill sergeant for 4 years. People like, how you was a drill sergeant for 4 years? Well, I was a drill sergeant a year for Fort Jackson in 2002. So that got me a little extra long stint. Plus, I was a drill sergeant during 9/11. So a lot of us stayed on as being drill sergeants a little bit longer because we had a shortage of drill sergeants because everybody was deployed.
Okay. Yeah. I let me ask you this: being that you were a drill sergeant, what make you take on challenging positions? Because you have a lot of people that shy away from positions like that. They either feel like it's too much work, or they can't cut it. Or what I found out in the newer generation is that a lot of not NCOs, but a lot of adults that are younger than us, the generation behind us, they tend to like avoid responsibility or stuff like that. So what made you kind of decide to choose those challenging positions like a drill sergeant position? I know you meant you use at the schoolhouse too, but what made you choose that position?
Because of my drill sergeant. I remember the impact that my drill sergeant had on me. And then it seemed like almost every great leader that I came in contact with as I was coming through the military ranks, they had that badge on. And I've always loved challenges, man. I don't shy away from challenges. Matter of fact, the more challenging it is, the more it's probably I'm going to gravitate to it. Because, again, I knew in order for me to get to where I was at in my military career, I had to do some things that other people didn't have to do. I had to work a little bit harder than other people had to. So it was never a question in my mind. I know that when I was in basic training, I said, one day I'm going to be a drill sergeant. And
that's what's up.
I submitted my drill. First time I submitted my drill sergeant packet, it didn't get approved. The next time it did, man. And the rest was history, man. And if it's one thing, it's a lot of leaders I had when I was in the military. I don't remember all their names, but I remember my drill sergeant.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my drill sergeant. Yeah. I'm pretty sure you still remember your drill sergeant, the one that at least one of them that had a huge impact on you. So I never shy away. Now, to answer your question as far as this generation and why they not so geared to taking on challenges and stuff. And I don't like to beat this generation up because I love this generation. Unfortunately, our generation is the reason why they don't like to take on challenges because we never put them in pressure situations. We try to do everything for them. And just think about when you was growing up, as much as your mom would have loved to do everything for you, it's the struggle that you go through that make you be able to deal with the next piece of pressure that come your way. And unfortunately, this generation, they hadn't had to go through anything. I mean, I remember when they tried to give my son got the same mentality. They tried to give him a participation trophy. He said, Dad, I ain't taking that bull crap. because
Yeah.
because you had to earn certain things, and we have given them everything, and
Mhm.
so I try to tell people stop talking about this generation like they don't want to do stuff. They want to do stuff, but why do something if everybody above them doing it for them? If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it make 100%. It make 100% of sense. So, me and my wife, my wife is in the military. Actually, how we met is in Fort Worth. She got up to the rank of E5, and she kind of gave up her military career in order for me to pursue mine. And the lady was starting with a family. So my wife is pretty solid, and I'm pretty solid. But what we noticed about a year and a half to 2 years ago, because we have two little kids of our own, and then I have my two older kids that I got from my previous marriage. I got custody of them like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And what we noticed with my two younger kids is that they were spoiled. I'm gonna be honest with you. Look, we got to the store and it's like, can I have? And then my wife is like, yes. And I'm like, bro, we don't have to tell them yes every time. So I was trying to figure out how how do you raise tough kids when they're already born into an environment where we spoil them. And through a little bit of research, I'm gonna tell you what I found out. If you want to raise kids that are tough and they're born into the environment where you kind of give them stuff, then you have to stop doing things with them. You have to let them struggle a little bit. You have to let them do stuff on their own, right? Me and my youngest son Noah, we have a saying, and when, like you said, your mom said the word can't couldn't be used in the house. So I'll let him use the word can't, but when he finishes that sentence, I have him to put the word yet at the end.
I like that.
So he'll say, "Oh, I can't tie my shoe." I was like, "You can't tie your shoe yet." "Oh, I can't get past this, phase on the game where you can't get past it yet." And we do that with the kids all the time. I make them do tough things in order for them to be successful in life, because I guarantee you they're gonna run into some stuff when they get older, and it's gonna challenge them. And when they challenge them to the point that they ain't been challenged before, they're gonna end up folding. And then it's gonna be essentially our fault as
Yep.
parents. So we try to instill that tough love in them and make sure that they understand that you have to go through hard things in life in order to be successful. Well, I definitely agree with you on that one.
Yeah, I think that's parenting, man. That's what parenting is all about. I would tell you that as a parent, especially with younger kids these days too, you also you competing with social media, the internet, and all that other stuff.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
again, like I said, growing up in the projects, all I saw is what I saw. I didn't
Yeah.
have access to the internet. I didn't see what I thought people was like successful overnight. I just
Uh-huh.
seen people, everybody around here, we all got bikes for Christmas at the same time. We all got skates. It was just whatever
Yeah.
that thing was. And now these kids see instant, at least they feel they see instant success. But what they don't see is the grind and the hard work that had to go behind it.
Yeah.
And then you have a generation of parents that, well, I'm not going to treat my kids the way my parents treat. It's not treating them the way your parents treat them. How about changing it up a little bit? But still, it's
Yeah.
because my grandfather said kids want to be disciplined. I was
Oh
always
yeah.
that guy. My grandfather was always that guy that people like, oh, they such and such, they mean. But for whatever reason, when kids come around, the only person they want to be around was my grandfather, or they want to be around me. I'm gonna have fun with them, but I'm also gonna hold them accountable.
Yeah.
You ain't just gonna be talking to me, or when we was growing up, you couldn't be in grown folks' conversations.
Oh yeah. That's it. That was the word right there. You would say, it's a rule, don't be a grown folk business. And me and my wife would be talking. Sometimes I ask my wife a question, and then my son answers. I'm like, hold up, bruh. We
Yeah,
ain't talking to you.
yeah, yeah.
Why are you answering that question? You're right.
But Derek, for every one of you that check them, it's 20 of them that don't. And then they want to know
Yeah.
why they feel like they supposed to have. Man, when my son was in his house, he said when he turned 18, he graduated from basic training. He said he went to basic training for 18 years. But even when he got a job, man, I made him pay bills. He had to pay one bill. I said, your money you ain't just gonna be spending it frivolously. And now, he's 27, and he said, Dad, I'm glad you made me do those type of things, because I got a lot of friends out here right now that's struggling. They thought they had it good when they was at home, but because not having to get a job and not playing, organized sports and stuff like that, they out there. That's why they can't deal with some of these stressful situations, because they always got that person to make that phone call. And I try to tell people that I mentor, and even parents that I talk to, the worst thing you can do is being an enabler. Because the same, if you enable them, if you're always doing stuff for them, you're going to be the one that's frustrated. But you also, as I found out, as you get older, because you've been enabling them so much, they actually become more expensive when they get older. And so you have to teach them, man. If I called my mom for something, she know I done exhausted every daggone opportunity. And it was rare. As I got older, my mom would just send us. I'd be struggling. But I ain't calling my mom because I'm going to find a way. And that's the thing. You just got to stop. It ain't the fact that you don't love them. TV and society that made it seem like if you don't give them stuff, you don't love them. But that ain't the case. You got to, like you said, now I want to say tough love. I want to say gentle parenting, but you just, however parenting works for you, but you got to parent. And some people are afraid to parent because when you parent, that means you punishing yourself too. So that's the reason why some people don't do certain things. Hey, we ain't going to that game. That means that I can't go to that game, or you can't have your cell phone. Well, you gonna tell them they can't have their cell phone. You know what? You need to unplug from the phone yourself. Some people don't want to do that.
It's crazy that you say that. One time my son was acting up and I took his iPad away from him. And then when I took his iPad away, I don't want to say he was bothering me, but I was trying to get some work done. And I was like, man, is this a punishment for him or me? Like, I'm trying to do work and he's like, daddy. I'm like, man, go get your iPad. But you said I can't get on it. I changed my mind, man. Go get it. So look, I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. I'm gonna talk about your military career and leadership. And I know you mentioned to me before when we talked last week that you can learn more from bad leaders than you can from good leaders, right? So can you give me like not an necessarily scenario, but can you give me something in your past where you learned something from a bad leader?
Okay. I don't know if I shared this with you last week, man, but I had a leader that believed that if one person was going to if one person was going to the field, everybody was going to the field. That was just a cookie cutter thing, and morale was definitely low because of this guy, because he treated everybody the same and everybody had different situations or whatever. And I remember how I felt when this guy had me in the field the same week that my wife was due with my first child.
Oh man.
Man, and here's the thing. We was at Fort Hood. I was in a aviation unit, but we was getting ready to do a unit move to Germany. So we had helicopter pilots that was training at Hood. We went to the field every month.
Yeah.
As a wheel mechanic, I'm really not doing nothing out there, and you really didn't need me out there in the field for any of all the weeks. This week was the week that you really didn't need me out there in the field, but because you was out there. But what he taught me was, remember how you feel right now. Because when you get in this situation, you ensure that you don't do the exact same thing. And in that same unit, I had a first sergeant. The first sergeant knew all his soldiers, especially all of his NCOs. And he knew that I was in the field during the week that my wife was, well, he didn't know. He happened to come out to one of the areas where we was at in the field, and he seen me out there. And he's like, ain't your wife due this week? I said, yes, first sergeant, but such and such, I got to be out here. Go get your stuff.
Yeah. That's a good leader right there.
Not only did he have me go get my stuff, he put me in the car and drove me back and said, look, if she had it, I need you to be at the staff duty desk. But if she called you and says that time, then you just leave. She didn't have my daughter that week. She had my daughter the following week. Well, guess who was the first person at the hospital? It wasn't that platoon sergeant that made me go to the field. He was my first sergeant and his wife. My wife was in labor for 72 hours. You know what? They sent me home to get some sleep. I went home for 3 hours. I came back. My first son and his wife is still at the hospital tending to my wife and my daughter. And
man, that's good. That's good leadership.
But the thing about it is, man, I got so many stories that I can tell about that guy. But what I learned from him, because he was there for me when I did that. But I stepped in it a few times. And hey, how NCO Creed say? Be fair and impartial when recommending both rewards and punishments.
Yeah, that's
he
true.
He wasn't shy about giving punishment, but he didn't attack you as a person. He attacked the thing that you did that was wrong, and he corrected that and make sure that you didn't do that again, man. So, and throughout my military career, man, I made an point to whatever those leaders that I came in contact with that I thought was wrong, don't be like them, because if I'm like them, then I'm a hypocrite. Remember this moment, remember what it felt like. And when I get in a position where I'm in control, ensure that I do something different. And that was always my goal.
Yeah, I got you. That's pretty good. That's pretty good advice. Well, let me ask you this: as far as like leadership is concerned, I know you say you learned things from bad leaders, but You personally, what was the hardest leadership lesson that you learned during your time in the service?
That I can't save everybody.
Oh man, I
I
want you to
can't.
say that. Say that one more time, because
As a leader, man, because I took it personal. I felt as though if I couldn't get you right, then something was wrong with me. But what I realized, everybody don't want to be fixed.
no man,
Matter of fact, some of the soldiers that I end up having to put out the military, do you know they reached back out to me later and they let me know that it wasn't my fault. They said, man, matter of fact, it's because of you being on me and being hard. I just wasn't ready to receive it at that time. But
yeah,
now I done received it. I realized what you was trying to do. So for me, the hardest thing as a leader was realizing and not taking it personal that I couldn't fix everybody.
man, that's a dope life lesson too. Not just military lesson, leadership lesson, but it's a dope life lesson. Sometimes people just, it ain't your fault that they not good.
Yeah.
You know, I had a book that I read. Man, what is that book called? It's about a Navy SEALs. Extreme Leadership.
Okay.
And they was essentially saying that everything is your fault if you're the leader. And I agree with that to some extent. But man, sometimes you just got people that don't want to do right. You can't lead them. It is what it is. But it's not a reflection on you as a leadership that your leadership is bad. It's just how that person is, you know?
I had a mentor of mine that taught me on how you're supposed to manage your time when it comes to your subordinates. I don't know if you ever heard this before, but you got 4 type of personnel that's in your formation. You got the person that's willing and able. That's normally your superstar. That's the one that they can operate with no guidance or little at all. Then you have the one that's willing, but they ain't able. That's that person that's normally new to your formation. They got a lot of energy. They want to learn, but guess what? They just don't know what y'all do yet. So normally what you
Yeah.
do is you put the person that's willing and able with them and help them out. Then you have the one that's able, but they ain't willing. That's part of the eco mafia. They on the fence. Or that young sergeant that don't know whether or not he on this side or that side. Those are the ones that you're really supposed to spend the most time with. But the ones we spend the most time with is the ones that's unwilling and that's unable.
Yeah.
Those are the ones we spend all our time with, and we end up messing around because we spend so much time with them. Some of our willing and able become the able but unwilling or whatever. They started to drop off. And so once he taught me that, I realized that, hey, you know what? I only can give so much of my time to this kid. I still got a whole nother formation that I need to take care of. And I can't be just spending all my time on this person, man. And so, yeah, man, I would just tell you that was my hardest thing. And once I learned how to divide my time amongst them soldiers and stuff like that, it seemed like life got better too.
Yeah, that's true. Well, let's talk about your post-military. I know you mentioned before that you did that you took 2 years off and you sent it home, which I think everyone should do. Spend time with their family at least, right? And then you went into teaching your SFL-TAP. So what was the transition like for you, and what advice would you give some of the service members that are transitioning out of the military or soon to be transitioning out?
Okay. So one, I was lucky. We already talked. I was a Garrison sergeant major. So what's one of the programs I got oversight of? TAP. And
Mm-hmm.
and I knew coming into my job that this was going to be my last job. And my commander was really Colonel Counter. I had 2 great commanders. Colonel Counter was like, "Hey, Sergeant Major, I really need you to be involved because we had to brief the CG every quarter about personnel transition. And the hardest people when it comes to transitioning is the senior leadership. The
Yeah.
number was always low, but my transition, man, I was fortunate enough because my wife retired 10 years before I did. She did 24 years. And so I ain't gonna say 10 years before me, but she had retired 8 years before I did. And so she made sure that, hey, look, we get all this medical stuff squared away. And I share this with those that's in the transition period. Don't create no new debt because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people end up. The reason why I was able to sit at the house and not have to go off and get another job is because when I left the military, man, I was debt free. The only thing I had was my house. And my disability pay one of our disability checks pay all our bills. I ain't trying to be arrogant or boast or whatever.
No,
But
I
one
I
disability
know.
check It pays all my bills.
Yeah, I know
My
exactly.
mortgage.
I know
So
exactly what you meant.
yeah, so that, and then I talked to people that had already transitioned. See, oftentimes we talk to people that ain't transitioned. We talking and they just telling you what they heard, but they ain't been through the process. And
They
so
call them they call them barracks lawyers. You can't
those
listen to all the
barracks
barracks
lawyers,
lawyers.
exactly the barracks lawyer. But I had a couple of GOs, man. He said, "Son, Major, I need you to do something for me." He said, "Man, you dedicated 30 years of your life." He said, "I need you to at least, at a minimum, your transition leave at a minimum and get out there and do some things or whatever." But I already knew in my mind that based off how me and my wife planned everything, I wasn't finna be running out there and jumping into no job. And if I jumped into a job, it's gonna be something that I wanted to do. Like SFL-TAP was something that I really wanted to do so that I can share my story and help those people that's transitioned out of the military. Oftentimes you got a lot of people, they retired on Friday and then they start a new job on Monday and then they want to know why they're miserable.
Yep,
Because
that's true.
you never retired. And so
Yeah.
I always, here's the thing, the question that you ask, make sure that you're debt free. Make sure that you got all your medical stuff squared away. Uh, identify a place that you want to live. Don't be so set on going back home just for the sake of going back home. Identify those places. I'm in Texas because of my veterans benefits go a long way here in the state of Texas. One of the reasons why I can afford to pay my mortgage with my disability because I don't have to pay property tax here in the state of Texas. So
Say that again. I know. Listen, when VA hits you up and they tell you, hey, you're 100%, you be like, thank you, Jesus. You
thank you,
start bouncing
man.
up and down.
Yeah, yeah.
You get excited. Well, I had a conversation with my wife. She want to go back to Florida. I was like, baby, listen, I know you want to go back to Florida, but these benefits in the Lone Star State,
Yeah. But I would tell you, man, look at Florida. Florida is pretty good too. I try to tell people, if you look at the majority of places where a lot of veterans retire, Florida is one. I got a lot of friends down, especially in Tampa area, and they
uh,
got some of the same benefits as well, man. But again, don't don't get caught up in the story of, hey man, you don't need to go to TAP. Hey, them jokers need to go to TAP. And
uh,
ensure that you ask a whole bunch of questions. How we say the only stupid question is the one that you don't ask. But
yeah,
so the military is the only organization that prepares you for life after working with it. You ain't gonna go to no other job and they're gonna have give you all these resources to help you build your resume, to help you do job interviews, to help you look for jobs and stuff like that.
yeah,
Uh, at Fort Knox, man, our career skills program, we had a 75% hiring rate.
yeah,
Anybody that participated in career skills program, 75% hiring rate. And the numbers actually could have been higher, but some people, they did the career skills program and they say, it was a great experience, but it's just not what I want to do. So
mhm,
take advantage of all these resources and all the opportunities as you get ready to transition out the military. Treat your transition like you treat going to a training exercise. You got a
mm,
backwards plan. I know they say 2 years out, 2 years is not enough time. But when people say, "Hey, I'm preparing for retirement," they think you checking out. That's not the case. You're not checking out. You just
yeah,
prepare. You prepare for that just like you prepare for anything else, man. And your transition is going to be a lot smoother. And
yeah,
I believe in the VA, bro. I don't have no bad. I hear a lot of people talk about the VA, and I understand many of our veterans that served in the Vietnam War, or whatever, they had some problems. But the VA that I know now is not that VA then. A lot of the people just got to make sure that they got their paperwork and stuff together. And the VA,
yeah,
they got to the point now where your paperwork ain't even got to be together. They taking
yeah,
care of people. So
yeah, man. I
that's
can,
the advice. Go ahead, man.
I was going to say, I can 100% agree with you on that one. I think I hadn't had any issues with the VA when I got out. And just like you said, I started preparing for my transition about 2.5, almost 3 years before it was time for me to get out. I had battle assembly one weekend. All the soldiers came in, and I came to my commander and I said, "Hey, listen, man, I just want to let you know, I'm dropping my retirement packet 2 years out. It's allowed where you can drop your retirement packet 2 years out. So I'm about 2.5, 2 3/4 years
Yeah.
away, but I'm gonna drop my retirement packet." And she said, "You know, this is what you want to do?" And I was like, "Yes, ma'am. I just want to prepare." And then I started doing things and researching. And just like you said, I got with the Skills Bridge program, and I actually got hooked up with this college called, not college, it's a school. It's called St. Michael's Learning Academy,
Mhm.
where I got my certificate at SAP, which is the system I used to work with in the military. And transitioning out, it wasn't a plan to work, but the job is remote and it's not hard for me to do, which I really, really like. So speaking of transitioning, I know that one of the questions that you have asked soldiers that were transitioning out was, do you know who you are? I think it's such an important question, but how did you find your own answer of who you are?
Well, you heard me. You heard when you started off. You said, "Hey, this is Sergeant the retired Griffin, but he want to be called Griff." Because I've never been attached to a title or position that I've been in. I've always been told the same title or position that you have today, it can be gone tomorrow. And you want to make sure people respect you for who you are and not what you got on your chest. One of the reasons why people always ask, well, why did you move to Houston, Texas, or Katy, Texas, of all places? Why you didn't stay near a military installation? Because you want to know what? I wanted to be Mr. Griffin. I knew that if I stayed near a military installation, I'm gonna be going on the gym. I'm gonna be going on post to go to the gym. People gonna be knowing me. They gonna still be calling me Sergeant Major and all this other stuff. So I wanted to identify who I was, because a lot of veterans that don't identify who they are prior to leaving the military, they struggle because the military is something that we did, but it ain't who we are.
Yes.
If that makes sense, it's not who you are. Who you are is the person. Like I had a battle buddy, man, that we talked, because people was giving him bids. He wanted to do substitute teaching. They said, "Oh man, you retired, so man, you should be doing this. You should be." I said, "Man, do that substitute teaching. You like it? If you like it, I love it." I said, "You know what? Them kids need to see you in front of them. Now, how many black males they see in front of them in the school? They need to see you." Well, you know, they said I should be making, brother. You ain't got no debt. Whatever you make, this is extra money anyway. I tell people, and again, not bragging about, it's 6 figures on the first every month. If I don't do nothing else, 6 figures coming in this house right here. So how much is too much, man? You can go out there and you can bust your butt all you want to, and then at the end of the day, you mess around and die, and them kids gonna run through that money in less than a year. So you better enjoy yourself and find out who you are. You no longer Colonel such and such. You no longer Sergeant Major or First Sergeant or whatever your rank was. Who are you? And it's important that you start. The sooner you figure that out, the better your transition gonna be on this side.
Okay. Yeah, that's great advice. I can say the same thing. I think that knowing who you are is a great advantage. One of the ladies that I used to work with, I had a party at my house for my birthday a couple days ago, or last weekend, and she kept saying, "Oh, Matt Sergeant, Matt Sergeant, Matt Sergeant." And I was like, "It's Derek." And she was like, "Matt Sergeant." And I was like, "Hey, it's Derek." She said, "Okay, you just retired." I said, "Yeah, but like my name is Derek. I'm not Master Sergeant no more." And just like you said, it was my rank is not necessarily who I am, because when one of the sergeant majors at the schoolhouse said something that was so profound to me, and he said that no matter who you are or what you do in the military, it always has a get out date. You're going to leave the military, whether or not it's mandatory or whether or not it's on your own accord, but you're going to leave.
Yeah.
And the big thing is you got to make sure you take care of yourself when you do.
I had a mentor, man. She always talked about whenever she would come guest speak at the NCO Academy and stuff. I love she would always talk about the dash. And you know, like you said, we all got an expiration date, but just think about if you ever go to a cemetery and you look at a tombstone, it got the day that you was born, and then it has the day that you transition. And but she said what was most important was that little dash or the hyphen or whatever you want to call in between. Because there's some people that came into the military on this day and they left on that, and can't nobody tell you nothing that they did because they didn't do nothing. And so my goal was always to make sure that dash, long after I'm gone, people still gonna be talking about it, because I just poured and I just wanted to make sure I left a legacy that would live long after me, man. And so, and one of the things I did was full transparency as I started on the back end, because that's another thing that senior leaders don't do. The reason why people hold on to certain ranks and positions is because we brag about the awards and the promotions that we get, but we don't talk about the transition. And so a lot of people struggle on the transition piece because they never seen nobody do it. So, hey, I had the opportunity to do the executive level tap where somebody come and do a desk side. I said, no, I'm going to sit right there in the classroom with them when I go through TAP. Because some of them young kids could be asking questions that I ain't even think about because my whole adulthood has been in the military. I was 17 when I joined the military. I was 48 when I left. So, they know more about what's going on out there in the outside world than me. So I just think, man, that it is important that you do, like you say, find that identity, find out who you are. Don't be tied to no titles. And life out here be so much better, man. People, like I said again, the ones that struggle, they attach to that title. They attach to what they did and what they did and what they doing now. So, and find something. If I got one other thing to give there, find something to do. Finding something to do don't mean that you got to go get a job. You can volunteer. My grandfather told me that, man. He said, you ain't got to rush and get no job. You volunteer. That's what I do. I volunteer at the church and I do this and I do that. Because you know what? When I don't feel like doing it, I don't have to do it. When you start punching in or a lot of veterans start their own business, that way you can be in control. So that's something you want to do. So I'm right now as we speak, I go through the University of Syracuse got a free boost the business class for veterans, man. That's online that I'm currently enrolled in just to learn about, starting my own business.
Yeah. I think that's pretty dope. I think everybody should, follow those steps of advice you said. Having known who you are, doing something that you like to do, and just all in all, just doing something to make yourself happy. I think that's like amazing advice. Let's talk about legacy and some personal stuff. I know you faced tragedy, right? You told me you had a loss of a child, which I don't feel like no parent should ever have. Yeah. But how did that shape your perspective on your life, your leadership, and just your overall resilience?
Life is short, man. Life is short. I mean, not only did we lose our son, man, I lost my driving force for my whole. We talk about my mom, but my mom died before I put the rank of sergeant major on. And it's amazing how God works, man. Because when I transitioned out the military, it was during COVID, so I didn't have a retirement ceremony and none of that stuff. But I don't think I could have done it, and probably didn't want to have it because my mom, the person that I really wanted to have my retirement ceremony for, she wouldn't have been there. So I just know that life is short. Treat each moment to the fullest. The things that I've been through taught me how to focus on the things that I can control and don't worry about the stuff that I can't control. If it's a problem, then you should be able to fix it. If you can't fix it, then you just need to embrace it. That's why I tell people, people put so much energy behind stuff that they don't have no control over. And while you sitting up there worrying about it, you're gonna miss out on life. And so I'm trying to. It's a book that I recently read, man. I'm dying on eat, man. My goal is to live my best life and take every moment like this could be the last time that I'm gonna have a conversation. My brother lost his girlfriend yesterday. They've been together forever. I mean, they might as well in Alabama. They could be considered common law husband and wife. They've been together that long. But she just passed away, 39 years old, man. Been fighting cancer for a minute. Passed away yesterday. So life is short.
Sorry to hear that.
I appreciate that, man. But life is short, and it's just a natural order thing. And so, I just can't focus on the things that I can't control. I can't bring my mom back. All I can do is continue the good things and the memories that we had, and know that hey, she watching down on me. And every time I do something, then I just try to make sure I'm making her proud. I try to make my kids proud. Even though Daquan ain't here with us no more, still operating like he here. And trying to make each moment something that he'll be proud of.
Yeah. I think that's amazing. One of the reasons why I love doing the podcast is because I like hearing people's story. I like hearing about resilience. I like hearing about heartbreak, and I like hearing how it brings you out on the other side. And I feel like everybody you meet has a story to share. So why do you feel like it's important for you to share your story? Like, what do you hope people get from it?
Because one, I think it's important for me to share my story because somebody else is out there going through it, and they about to give up. They feel like it might not be no tomorrow, and then to hear that somebody else that been through or going through the same thing I've been through, they know that they're not out there all by themselves. I share it all the time, man. I went through a divorce at the point of my military career. I was a newly promotable E7 getting ready to make E8. Well, I was E7 promotable at a time of my career when life should have been, on my back end, man, I started over as a first son. I'm sleeping on the air mattress, and I shared this with my guy. I'm sleeping on the air mattress and eating rummy noodles because I got to pay child support, and I'm up in Washington State. But I got people in my formation that's going through the exact same thing, man. During that time, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't share that. But on the back end, like I had a hip replacement, I had a knee replacement, I was doing behavioral health. My soldiers knew all of that stuff because you know what? It was on me to get rid of certain stigmas. Like, hey, you can't be in a leadership position if you see a behavior health. That's not true. Matter of fact,
I just think it's amazing when leaders have the ability to be just a little bit transparent. You know what I'm saying? Because it make them see that you're leaders too. And just like you, I shared stories with soldiers before about particular situation. I had a soldier that was going through a divorce, and I was like, "Hey man, look, I've been with you before.
Yeah.
If you need somebody to talk to, let me know." It's soldiers that go through things, and a lot of times they don't want to tell you because they don't think they can relate to you. You know what I'm saying?
It's because leaders don't share stories. They see you as a superhero. They see you with an S on your chest. And so why would I come? And I grew up in the military like that. I mean, some of my first leaders was Vietnam vets, man. And so having feelings and emotions, that just didn't happen. They didn't want to hear that bull crap. All they want to know is you could do your job. But what I realized, man, I was able to get in contact and touch more of my soldiers when I started to share some of my stuff. And like they say, there is no testimony without a test. And so you can't give a testimony if you ain't been tested. And so in life, we all have to go through stuff. And I heard my boy D Hicks talk about, people always talk about how faithful they are until their faith been tested. And so I think it's important that we share our stories, man, because at some point all the things that we go through is by design in my eyes.
Yeah, and that's true.
We go through it so that at some point we can pay it forward to somebody else. Because somebody else ain't nothing that we've been through, somebody else ain't already been through.
Yeah. Or going to go through. Yeah, you're right. You took the words right out of my mouth. Or going to. I 100% agree with you. I think during your life you have tests and you have trials and tribulations for a reason. But not that you should regret anything in life. But if you can go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that advice be?
If I can go back and give my younger self one piece of advice, don't take yourself so serious. Oh, man. I'm gonna be honest, man. One reason why I got divorced, my ex-wife said this, man. I ain't gonna lie. She said, I envy your soldiers. He said, like, they get way more time from you, or I was career driven. And I would tell you, at one point I thought that I was going to be up on that retirement stage all by myself, man, because I was so career driven and I see a whole bunch of people's tricks. So what I would tell myself, don't take myself too serious, have fun, know that it's okay to fail, it's a part of the process. Yeah. Because even though I told you I like a lot of challenge stuff, it was times in my life that I was afraid to do certain things. And the crazy part about it was when I really went on, gave myself the energy to, or built up the strength to go do it, it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. So don't be afraid to fail, because a failure is a part of the process. And don't focus on the destination. Focus on the journey. That would be other people, man, because people be so focused on the end result that they miss all the stuff that's going on in the process. So that would be the other thing, because I think I missed out on a few things in life because I was so focused on the end result.
Yeah. And just like you said earlier when we were talking, like, you can't be scared to take chances. And I know you and I talk about books a lot. And I read, so most of my books are leadership books. I have a few books that are not leadership books. And I read one, it was an autobiography of Will Smith. It was called Will. It turns out when I read the book, I took a lot of leadership lessons. I don't know if I was listening to it to get that, but I got a lot of leadership lessons. And just like you, I'll put my AirPods on and I'll listen to my books on Audible, and I'll just roll with it. I'll be in the car with my wife. She'll be listening to something, and I'll say, I'll say, oh man, that's cold. The shit's, what are you saying? I was like, oh, I'm listening to a book. And then after a while, she was like, I want to listen. So I'll give her an earbud and she'll do the same thing. But Will Smith has a saying in the book. He said he went up to go skydiving. Never been skydiving before in his life. he said prior to them skydiving, they had a conversation where they was just like, hey, we're gonna go skydiving tomorrow. He was like, yeah, we're gonna go skydiving tomorrow. Yeah, yeah. When everything calmed down, he went home and he laid down and he was in his bed thinking, man, we like going skydiving tomorrow. Like, what's the deal? And he said that he was nervous all the way up until he got to the plane. He said once he got to the plane and it was time to go, he wasn't gonna back out. But when he got to the plane and it was time to go, and he jumped out the door, it was nothing but chaos and wind blowing over his ear. He couldn't hear. He was trying to scream at the top of his lungs, trying to tell the guy things that he couldn't understand. And then he pulled the cord. And he said when he pulled the cord, it was so peaceful to just float above the crowd. And in that moment, and you can take this one down, and I promise you, you'll love this one. Some of the best things in life are right on the other side of chaos. They're right on the other side of fear, right on the other side of intimidation.
I agree.
Some of the best
I
things.
downloaded the book, man. When you told me, I ain't got that far. The family just took that cross country trip, and
Oh yeah.
but I like the story when he was talking about him and when his dad had him and his mother building that wall,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
and the lesson that he learned from building that wall was because his dad said, "Y'all, the problem with y'all is y'all worried about the wall being complete instead of focusing on each brick at a time." And when he realized that when he focused on just laying each brick at a time, that thing that they considered to be miserable wasn't miserable no more. So you're right, man. And I listen to a lot of leadership books. As you know, I told you I'm a big, huge John C. Maxwell fan. I like Simon Sinek, Les Brown, Eric Thomas. Man, anything that's going, because I feel like you are what you eat. And people when they hear that, they only thinking about we talking about that supersizing that Big Mac or whatever at McDonald's. No, I'm talking about you are what you eat. You are what you watch on TV. You are what you listen to. And so normally with me, it's always something that either some type of leadership book or some type of professional development book that I'm doing. Because like John Maxwell, he got the 16 laws of invaluable growth. And the first one is you have to be intentional in your growth. You ain't never seen nobody fall up a hill.
Yeah.
In order to get up that hill, you got to climb up that hill. And so everything that I do, I'm intentional. I'm not a big reality show person and none of that stuff. I love looking at documentaries. Anything that's gonna teach me, like this month. If you look at my TikTok page, I've been highlighting Black excellence all month on my TikTok page. Every person that I talked about really was I tried to highlight people that we ain't never heard of because it's so easy to get on there and talk about Martin Luther King and Michael Jordan
Rosa Parks.
Rosa Parks, and all those people. But I wanted to highlight some people that we never heard of to make people smart, make us educated. So I'm all about I'm a lifelong learner. I told you I'm in the University of Syracuse right now. I'm always trying to learn something, man. So I think those books, that Will Smith book, I appreciate you for introducing it to me because it's in the queue right now. I've been listening to it. And I know I'm going to get to the point where he's jumping out the plane. And I'm like, okay,
I'm telling you
about it.
Yeah, you get some wild lessons from it. It's like an amazing book. And one thing I didn't know, because I used to watch Fresh Prince of Bel-Air all the time growing up. And he was like one of my favorite actors. So when it was time for me to purchase the book, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get this book because it's Will Smith. Yeah. And the book is really well written, but I didn't know that his dad was a sergeant in the military.
Man, you'd be surprised. Yeah, his dad was in the Air Force. Yeah, I remember he said, and most of the lessons, even though he wasn't in there alone, but most of the lessons that he carried to the end of time, he got there was instilled in him while he was in the Air Force, man. And so his dad was a knucklehead.
Yeah, he was. And let me ask you this. I tell my, and this is probably a lesson that you probably share with your kids too. Have you ever compare to anything, especially like your military career? You ever compare your career to anybody else's?
I stopped doing that a long time ago, man, because comparison is the thief of joy. Because it's easy to get caught up in it, man. And that's what I was talking about earlier when we was talking about, you competing with social media and the internet and stuff like that. The reason why a lot of these kids, man, they struggle, or just people in general struggle, because they always comparing themselves, man. I stopped doing that a long time ago. I don't know what that person had to go through to get to where they at. And do I want to do what they doing? I'm
Yeah.
on my Peloton bike. My guy be hitting me up on, man, you killed it. I said, man, look, it's you versus you. If you was to go in my gym right now, that's all up on the wall. It's you versus you. I don't believe in comparison, man, because again, it's the thief of joy.
Yeah. I had a quote the other day that I saw and I had to write it down, and I'm gonna let you have this one. So
Okay.
it says nothing in your life is small until you compare it. Your wife is beautiful until you compare her to another woman.
Mm.
Your husband is great until you compare him to another
Sure, another
man.
man.
Your children are good until you compare them to someone else's children. You your marriage is good until you compare it to things that you see on social media.
Yep.
And they said, just like you said, comparison is a thief of joy. So do not compare your life to someone else's. Learn to be appreciative of what you have and thank God for your blessings.
Man, you gotta have an attitude of gratitude, man. Your problems is somebody else. Somebody else would love to have your problems. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
again, the society we live in now is a comparison society, man. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
and when people get, that's when you know you got peace. You know you got peace when you don't have to compare yourself. You're never you can go buy you can have all the money. It's always gonna be somebody else that got more money. You can have the
Yeah.
nicest car, it's always gonna be another nicer car out there, man. I think me and the wife now the vehicles we got right now, we ride them jokers till the wheels fall off. Hey,
Hmm.
we don't plan on going nowhere else unless the good Lord tell us something otherwise, man. But have an attitude for gratitude and
Yeah.
appreciate the things that you have. And the reason why some people don't get nothing because they don't appreciate what they got right now. That's why they
Yeah.
continue. So
Yeah.
yeah, attitude of gratitude.
And and then what's crazy is that like eh, people don't realize where they are now because they disregard the fact of what they went through to get to where they are. Like it's stuff that you have in your life now that you prayed for 10 years ago,
Mm,
5 years ago, 2 months
mm.
ago, right? So you have to be patient. You have to understand that you came, a long way from where you are into where you are currently. It's things I didn't get jealous, so I wasn't comparing myself to people that are retired. But you got to stand in the South. Must be nice, when you say things like that. And I'll see somebody retire and they're getting out and they're walking in with like a beard or something like, oh, it must be nice. You got a beard. It must be nice that you're retiring. And it wasn't comparison, but it was just like,
Yeah,
man, I can't wait until I get there.
yeah.
And I'm here now, right? And it's crazy because I look back on my life and I'm so appreciative of the stuff that I went through. I'm so appreciative of the friends that I made. I'm so appreciative of like what the military had gave me and what I've given the military. And just like I said, it's been times that I prayed for where I am now, and I just thank God for all my blessings, man. It's like
Also,
amazing.
man, that's having the
Yeah.
attitude of gratitude, man. I
Yeah.
always tell people, man, be careful be careful what you ask for because you might just get it. So I live by the code: if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready because there's a book out there, Atomic Habits. I don't know if you ever read that one, but it's about just being consistent, man. It's the small
Yeah.
things. If the things that you want, they gonna come. You just got to be consistent. You just got to keep on doing what you're doing.
Hmm. And I believe that he's talking about this book right here.
That book right there, exactly.
Man, if I could show you, listen, I got all kind of books. You call it, I don't have a lot of John C. Maxwell books, but I got a lot of books.
Yeah. I'm gonna
Yeah,
tell
let
you,
me.
man, add them to your toolkit.
Hmm. Yeah. So as we wrap up, I just want to ask you a question. What's next for you? You got any big plans? You got any projects, goals, anything you working towards?
Well, so a couple of things. One, short term, me and my son going on the golf. We've been planning that all year. I've started my own consulting business, man.
Oh,
When
nice.
I was a drill sergeant leader, remember back probably even when you was an instructor, every squad, a platoon, a class had to have a motto. And
Hmm.
the motto that stuck with me when I was a drill sergeant was, so I just established my consultant LLC. And and so baby, I ain't trying to go out there and be rich, but a lot of people talking to people, always encouraging people on development, guest speaking and coaching. So that's
Yeah.
my next thing. And then like just enjoying myself, man. Me and the wife got a couple of trips already planned for this year. And just giving back, man. I try to give back anywhere I can.
That's definitely one of the things I want to do. My wife asked me what my ultimate goal was, and I told her that I would like to be on the stage in front of people giving them all the knowledge that people gave me.
You can do
My
it.
ultimate, my ultimate goal is to do things like own a consulting firm where I go to public functions and I speak to them, not just about leadership, but life in general, because I
Yeah.
feel like I got something to give back. And it ain't mine, it's what somebody gave me. I'm just
Yeah.
giving it to somebody else,
Yeah.
you know? So that's one of my ultimate goals. And definitely we need to, I'll be in Katy in a couple of months and we need to definitely link up. We'll talk and we'll come up with a plan. I got my LLC too. We'll get some
We gonna
things
make
off.
it happen there. Look, I already got a crew of veterans down here. We break bread, and I introduce you to them as well. We break bread once a month, man, and do stuff. But man, you brother, I'm gonna tell you, it ain't hard. I mean, I went to John C. Maxwell Leadership Conference last year, and I'm going to another one this year. And I'm gonna go try. I think Eric Thomas got one coming here. I'm gonna go there. But bro, you can get on that stage because we all, like you said, we all got a story to tell. But don't talk about it, be about
Oh
it.
yeah.
And hey, because we talk about stuff so often, man. And I was one of those people, man. And I had some people call me on it and said, "You always talking about starting this business, but I ain't seen you move on it yet." And I said, "You know what? You right." And I got a partner that was on me, and every week he was on me. Did you
Yeah.
file this? Did you file that? And I did all those things, and yeah, now I have my LLC, and now it's about just building that brand. So going to joining the Small Business Association, getting a Rotary Club, because that's another thing that I want to share. And I know we getting ready to get off here. To the people that's transitioning, your network is your net worth. And you can't wait till you get out the military to start networking. You need to start networking right now. Every job opportunity that has been presented to me since I got out the military, it came through network. I ain't went and looked for not one job. Every one
Yeah.
of them was through networking. And so you have to establish a network because your network is your net worth. And then you have to find ways to reciprocate to your network. How can
Yeah.
you help
Yeah.
them out? So that was the one piece that
Man,
I forgot.
it's funny. It's funny that you say that. Not 100% agree that your network is your network. I told you I got a job as a consultant at a consulting firm. The firm is based out of Houston, which is the reason why we're moving down. And it was a funny job because I got hired, and then once I got hired, I didn't realize that I had to interview to be put on specific projects. And they got this app called My Scheduler where you look into the app and you find out what jobs are out there, and then you apply for it. And then somebody looks at your resume and they see whether or not they want to bring you on a project, no matter if it's like an EAM consultant or a leadership consultant or whatever the case is. And I found myself a mentor pretty quick. I had a bunch of people I can choose from, and I found myself a mentor. And one of the guys that was my mentor, Jonathan, he gave me a bunch of contacts to reach out. And he said, "Look, man, if you want to make it in this business, you got to network." And I was like, "Oh, I got it. I don't got no problem doing that." And when we talked a week later, he was like, "Hey, did you start networking?" I said, "Yeah, I reached out to about 60 people." He was like, "You said 6 or 60?" I said, 60. Everybody I talked to, I had a conversation. I had a question like, "Okay, you have somebody else I can connect with?" And I always make sure that I led the conversation with look, I am networking, and just in order for me to get put on the project, I want to showcase my skills. Here's my resume. But if it don't work, I still want you to think of me in the future. But we can just kick it sometime, have a coffee or whatever whenever I come into the office. So, well, look, Rick, man, I tell you, I 100% enjoyed this interview. Do you have any parting words for these people?
Hey man, I keep on doing what you're doing. All right. Stay positive. I know it's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now that we can get bogged down with, but focus on the things that you can control,
Yeah.
and all the other stuff. Don't worry about it. Uh, uh, for those that's still out there serving, I salute you. I commend you. I ain't got nothing but respect for you, regardless of what other people might say. I have nothing but respect for you. And for those that's getting ready to transition, it's okay. Life is good on this end, man. I know it's scary, especially for if you was like me. You did 30 years in the military, and then I tell people when I left the military, like graduate from high school all over again. I ain't have a clue what I wanted to do, and that's natural. It's okay. Just get around some like-minded people or some people that, matter of fact, I wouldn't even say get around like-minded people. Get around some people that's gonna make you uncomfortable. You really want to grow? Get in some rooms where when you first get in those rooms, you really ain't got much to say other than just take notes and watch how much you grow. And so that's what I would
Nice.
challenge. And I would challenge that for those that's even still serving. Get in rooms to where you can grow. And then when you get in those rooms and you grow, you make sure you create rooms for other people to grow. If
Oh
they
yeah.
if they don't want you at their table, create your own table. That's what I do. So
Get uncomfortable with get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
uncomfortable. That's right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. CSM retired Garrett Griffin, but we're gonna call him Griff for the podcast. Please tune in next week. I have another special guest. You guys take it easy.